more attached to dinner, aren't they, than other meals? I don't know why that is.
To help nutrition change from a diet to a lifestyle. They can meal prep their own meals for the week.
How do you reconcile that in families where people have got different food needs?
If they're the person who also cooks for the family, get your family on board.
Hi, everybody, and welcome back to the Kidney Coach YouTube channel. I'm joined again today by the beautiful, amazing Jessianna Saville from the Kidney Nutritional Institute. And she has, as you probably know, joined us to talk about all things to eat for dinner if you have kidney disease. We thought today we would cover dinner because it's probably the biggest meal of the day, right? The one that everybody celebrates with family and the one that's got more tradition and ceremony and those sort of things around it. So it's often the one that people spend more time preparing and are a bit more, I don't know, people are more attached to dinner, aren't they, than other meals? I don't know why that is.
Yeah, it is very interesting. So yeah, dinner is it's a good learning meal, and it is the place where most people gather with their families. And so I just think it's such an important meal to be able to get some great ideas on, because it really, for a lot of people, seems to like make or break their plan for nutrition. Because if they can't make it work with their family, or like everyone else is cooking something else, eventually it ends up being really, really tough for them.
That is so true. And so that is definitely something we should cover, because I find this in my MS patients too. They're like, well, we're in control for breakfast and lunch, but dinner, the wife's cooking or the husband cooks. So I've got children. I don't want to make 5 or 6 different meals. So I think that's where, like you say, it's why people fall off the bandwagon. So I want you to speak to that point where you have people saying, look, I'm sick, my husband works, or I'm sick, my wife works full time. And, you know, I come home and I've got to feed the kids and I've got to feed my wife and things like that. And so, and I don't have the energy and I've got to cook 3 different meals. How do you reconcile that in families where people have got different food needs, using still the base so people can eat well? Because as we mentioned, dinner is the meal that's most likely to derail someone's healthy eating habits. And then with dessert, as we call it in Australia, or, you know, supper after that, it then can then spiral. So walk me through that.
That is really, man, this is such an important question. It's probably the number one piece truly that we are strategizing with people to help nutrition change from a diet to a lifestyle is, how do we make this work in life? I mean, that's lifestyle, right? How do you really make your nutrition work in lifestyle? So a couple different things to unpack here. So number one is, if you're looking at someone who has to go it alone, right? They no one's going to really help them in the kitchen, and they just have to be on their own. There's a couple different strategies we'll give them. So number one is, they can, if they have, you know, a Saturday or Sunday or weekday, they can meal prep their own meals for the week. And that way, no matter what the family's eating, they can still sit down with them and enjoy the meal, but they can eat their own food. So that's one thing they can do, just depending on their family structure. If they're the person who also cooks for the family and they're like, I'm not going to cook for me, and I'm not going to cook for, you know, spouse and kids also, like I just need one meal that works for everyone, then we'll talk about how you like the commonalities in meals. And we just actually wrote a blog post about this that'll be going up pretty soon. But how do you look for commonalities? So a commonality in like a stir fry meal is, everyone can eat like all those cooked vegetables that were done. The non-commonality may be that your spouse wants to have steak, right? And your kids maybe really like to eat, you know, the steak too, where they want to have like that meat portion. So you can either cook it in there and then you just like pick it out and put it on someone else's plate or whatever you want. Or a lot of times what we'll do is we'll say, hey, like your spouse or whoever, they really want to eat meat. So why don't one night a week you guys cook like a meat-based meal, but cook a lot of it, and you can put it in the fridge and you can slice it up and use it at other meals, and they can just add it to their meals. And that's so easy to do. So that's number two, is we say, like, what are the commonalities? What part of the cooking process can everyone share? The third part is, you know, talking, and not everyone has a supportive family this way, but a lot of people do, is say, hey, you know, a plant focused diet or this kind of plant focused dinner, it really can work for everyone in our family. So will you just try it with us? And I know in my family with my kids, I don't always like everything we cook. And my rule is just like, you have to try a bite. And then like, if you don't eat it, like you can have a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. Or like you can have something, you can have your own thing. But like, I'm going to cook things that are good for everybody. And eventually you'll get used to it. But you can also just have people experience what you're working on. And in a sportive environment, I honestly feel like that's really kind of an adventure and exciting for everyone. And everyone will get involved. The one thing is, for busy families, they have to recognize there's a little bit of this learning curve. So it might be a week or two. You got to find a couple new things you like. So those are 3 basic things. You can either, 1, cook your own separate meals in a batch, have your own separate freezer meals if that's the only way it's going to work for you. Number 2, you can find the commonalities and really the only thing that's not common is a lot of salt or a lot of meat. Everything else is the same, right? People can salt their own food at the table, so you don't have to worry about that. And the meat can usually just be cooked to the side, or you can pick it out. So that would be number 2. And then number 3 would be get your family on board, and then everyone can kind of cook and eat the same meals. And yeah.
Jessianna, thank you so much for joining me again. I know how busy you are, and I always appreciate your brilliant brain and mindset. And so as always, thanks again for joining us. If you want to be notified anytime we put up a new video, make sure you hit subscribe. If there's anything that you would like to ask Jessianna and her team for us to interview or talk about, you can put that in the comments below. If you want to know more about what we do, head to www.kidneycoach.com. You can also find us on Facebook in Facebook.com/kidneycoach. Thanks again for being part of our community, and we look forward to seeing you next time. Bye.
Bye-bye. Thanks.